welcome to Screen Masters with me, Bav.
Me for love.
And today we are going to be discussing the highly controversial subject of the Star Wars Sequel Trilogy. This is episodes 7, 8 and 9 to finish the Skywalker saga, as I believe we called it. So we will be going through that. However, it was a bit stormy last episode, wasn't it? We were being pummeled in this country by the storms. So I would like to turn today to the words of R. Kelly and say...
Whoa. R. Kelly? Are you sure about that? I mean...
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, he's a bit of a, it's not...
No, I totally did think about that, because the words I was going to turn to is, the storm is over now, and I can see the sunshine until the next documentary.
Yeah, there you go.
So...
Yeah. Next time, think about
maybe I'll think about who I'm picking next time.
Think about how you're doing. Yeah.
Oh well.
Anyway, let's move on.
They can't all be ones. So welcome back, everyone. Let's do the admin first. You can find us, as you can see, if you're seeing us. Hello.
Hiya.
We're on YouTube. Look at our lovely set. It's here. You can find us on YouTube and your podcast medium of choice. Please, if you haven't done already, go over to the YouTube channel. The link is bit.ly/bytebackyt. That is bit.ly/bytebackyt for the YouTube channel for Byte Back Media, where you will find our video podcasts. Please go over there, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. It all helps. We're trying to get the channel monetized so that we can, keep the studio running, basically, and pay for these lovely bits and pieces that we are doing as we go along.
Add a figure or two up here.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a figure or two up there as well. If you would like to donate to us more directly, you can by going to bit.ly/bytebackpatreon. That's bit.ly/bytebackpatreon, where we have tiers at
$4, $8 and $30, isn't it?
Is it 30? Yeah, probably is. We usually get this right. We're right on this stuff.
We're right every time.
We're really good on
Never
this
been
stuff.
wrong. Never been wrong.
We've never gotten the Patreon stuff wrong.
No.
So, you can go over there. You can donate more directly to us if you want to. Obviously, we have tiers, and you get rewards at different tiers, at different things. As you can see, if you're watching the YouTube version, I'm sporting the Spice Girls? I think it said Spice Girls. What the hell did I say Spice Girls?
What is wrong with you?
I'm sporting
R. Kelly and Spice Girls. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know. All right.
Just drink your tea.
Been a long day.
Just have a sip of tea. Go on.
Lovely, that's way too hot. You can see me sporting the Screen Masters t-shirt, which is available in a range of sizes and colours. The minute we don't have an official merch shop yet, we are working on the byteback.co.uk website with an eye on launching that. So if you are interested in any of the merchandise or anything like that, just send us a message through one of the platforms. If you go over to the Facebook page at facebook.com//.
Right, okay. Are you alright?
No, I'm done. See you later.
Yeah, alright.
Right, let's try that again. You can go to facebook.com/The Screen Masters, where you'll find links to all the places you can find the podcast, and we update that with information of new upcoming episodes and things like that. So head over there if you need to, facebook.com/The Screen Masters. Again, if you're interested in anything, just send us a message through that, comment on one of the videos, leave a review, rating, whatever on your medium of choice. It all helps, because essentially if you say you like it, they push it in front of other people who like similar things. Oh dear, so right, that was an awful introduction. So let's move swiftly onwards then. Have we got anything to discuss before we get into the main topic?
Couple of bits of news.
Okay,
couple of bits of news.
Yes, actually, I had one.
Yeah, I know. I'll leave you that one to you. So I'll touch on the other important ones. In fact, this first bit of news is something that you brought to my attention.
Oh yes,
which made me very, very happy when I suddenly get a message off you in the middle of the day, which doesn't always happen with, did you know that this had happened? Usually it's the other way around.
Yep.
Log Horizon.
Yep.
Has been picked up for season 3 for those of you who have watched our anime episode.
How long has it been?
Because
I thought it was like years ago since. Since series 2.
Since series 2.
Because I thought it was like a few years ago you finished watching
2015.
That. Yeah.
2015. It's been a good 5 years, maybe.
Wow.
Thank you very much for informing me of that. very ecstatic the day that you told me about that.
So I just found it really interesting that I thought it had been a fair few years since you finished watching it, and that was it. And it just seems strange to have suddenly gone, oh, actually, no, we will do some more of that.
I'm
Cool.
very, very happy
Good,
about
yeah.
that. Another thing that we touched on previously, which was Ex Machina, which is going to be titled The Great Machine.
Oh, interesting.
Has somebody attached to play Mitchell 100,
Okay.
which is Oscar Isaacs.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So, you know what? I'm actually happy with that. You know, I've got no problem with that. I think that would be a very good choice.
I think that's really good. I love him.
Good.
He's a great actor. Yeah. He's a great actor. And again, you know, all right, don't look at Poe Dameron to see that he's a great actor, but I would argue, watch him as Poe Dameron and go and watch Ex Machina, the film. That's probably why they've not called it Ex Machina, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, go and watch that film. He's incredible in that film, and then he's incredible in things like Operation Finale on Netflix, and then oh god, there was a love story one he did with Sky Cinema, I think, and he's just, not particularly good, but you know, you see him in all these different roles, and he's just an absolute chameleon whenever he takes to anything. So no, I think that's really good. Yeah, that's really good.
And the final bit of news, which we can't really talk too much on because you've still not quite sharp up to it, which is Picard, which has already been commissioned for a second season.
Indeed.
And now I'd seen a bit, and I've mentioned to you how much I love this.
I've actually been and watched the clip now.
Wonderful. There was a clip where Patrick Stewart went to The Talk, which is some American
Loose
show.
Women for America.
Loose Women for America, basically, yeah. Of which Whoopi Goldberg is one of the panelists, and he invites her back for season 2, and her reaction is absolutely priceless because it just shows how much she loved the idea of coming back into the fold of that. Yeah. And I was hopeful, a little bit hopeful that there was going to be a surprise cameo by her. But the fact that that's not going to happen, but I know that she's going to be in season 2, I'm happy about that.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? No, I'm happy with that too. And yeah, the only one I was going to mention was we mentioned last time, or a couple of episodes ago now, as it would be, that Scott Derrickson was no longer directing Doctor Strange. But now I've heard Sam Raimi may be directing it, which could be really interesting. Yeah. I think I'd like to see that. In the multiverse of madness? Yeah. Would you... With his chops, But not just that. Do you think we'd get a throwback? Oh, what, you think you might get Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man being seen? Why not? True. Why not? If it is the multiverse of madness, DC
you want to
bring back
Smallville
and Superman Returns, Brandon Routh Superman. Then
I mean, personally, I still can't stand Tobey Maguire. I think he's a vacuumous bastard, but...
Do you mean a charisma vacuum?
Charisma vacuumous bastard.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
That's absolutely fine. I can't stand the man. He's
I don't rate him as an actor.
I don't rate him as an actor or as an individual, as a human being, but still, that's beside the point. Anyway, shall we...
I'll quote R. Kelly, sounds fine.
Shall we get on to our main topic? Now, what is our main topic again, just so you, before your worlds...
Our main topic is discussing the sequel, the Star Wars sequel trilogy, as it's now known. So we have the prequel trilogy, 1, 2 and 3, the original trilogy, 4, 5 and 6, and the sequel trilogy, 7, 8 and 9. Fine. So that is it. So yes, today we're going to unpick some of this and discuss it and get some opinions and how we feel about these things, because I think I'm right in saying we're both huge Star Wars fans. We have been since we were children. We can't say we're the generation that grew up on it. Like, I didn't go and see it in the cinemas because I wasn't born when the first one was released. I don't think I was born when the second one was released. By the time the third one was out, I was 3. Yeah. So.
But did you go to the cinema to go to the special editions?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I did.
You see, I didn't watch Star Wars until I was about 17.
See, I watched it very early.
I watched the remasters as well.
I watched it very early, again, because of the luxury of having access to so many videos and whatnot when I was younger. So I'd already seen it 1,001 times, but as soon as the special releases came out, I was at the cinema to watch those.
That's cool. And then obviously we had to live through the prequel trilogy, which I did see, and worked at the cinema during that time. We went through that, and then we pushed off into episodes 7 and 8. So, 7, 8, 9, sorry. Let me take you back about 8 years to 2012. Disney completes its purchase of Lucasfilm, and shortly thereafter announced that they are going to produce a new trilogy of main episode Star Wars films, as they became known. We know at this point now, with all the kerfuffle that goes around all of this, we know that the original plan was 3 directors good modern directors who either have had a background at that point of experience doing what they were being asked to do, or had a very particular voice and a very particular style, shall we say. And I'm thinking particularly of Rian Johnson in that instance. He, at that point, he was, I feel, one of those. So episode 7 was going to be J.J. Abrams. In 2012, he began in TV. He did Alias and Lost, or was behind the creative mind behind most of those two shows, which were generally well received. Although obviously Lost, was mired in shit by the end. But let's remember again, for at least 3 or 4 seasons, we were all 100% on board and into everything that was going on with that show. He had done Mission Impossible 3 and directed that, which was a fantastic blockbuster, and was a great course correction for the series, I feel, because we went from a very interesting Brian De Palma spy thriller in 1 to a ridiculous, over-the-top John Woo action movie in 2, which kind of threw plot to the side and just focused on action and doves and flaming archways and sideways gun shooting.
And Doug Ray Scott making the biggest mistake of his career by going, I'm going to do Mission Impossible. I don't want to be the Wolverine.
Yes, what a great decision that was.
Well done.
And also I called Richard Roxburgh and his South African accent out as well in that film. So then we did Mission Impossible 3, which obviously was Philip Seymour Hoffman as the bad guy. It tells a broken narrative that's really dynamic and interesting, and took the best parts of the cool actiony stuff that Woo had done and put it together with the spy espionage thriller stuff that began the series and melded the two successfully. But again, you could argue that was a reboot almost for the franchise. It like I say, I see it as a course correction, putting it back on the course it should have been, rather than sort of following off where John Woo would have gone with it.
A reboot. J.J. Abrams and reboot.
Quite, because then he did Star Trek. And Star Trek was a total reboot. And interestingly, I didn't realise all the stuff that led to them doing that, because apparently J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot Productions owned the rights and the merchandising rights to the alternate timeline, the Kelvin timeline as they call it, Star Trek movies. But they don't own the rights to any of the other Star Trek stuff, which is why Discovery has happened and all that sort of stuff. And it's why they had to change uniforms and things, because they haven't got the rights to them to sell them in the first place, because Paramount own the rights to that side of things. It's also why at the minute there is a kerfuffle over another film, because Bad Robot, it seems like Paramount don't want Bad Robot to produce another one, but if they do produce one, it has to be in the Kelvin timeline, because they can't do anything outside of it, because their production company only owns the rights to that timeline. So it's a really weird, mired thing. If you're interested, I might put a link in the video or something that you can go and have a look at the research. I got bogged down in it the other day. And he'd done Super 8, which is, I love that film. It's a great film. It's like a Stephen King homage almost. It could be a Stephen King book that had been lost.
It feels like it's a bit of a Stephen King, Steven Spielberg homage.
Quite, yes, actually, yes, you're quite right there, yes. I think I mentioned Stephen King because it's got the feeling of Stand By Me, the Losers Club from It's the gang of kids together.
It's the story element of Stephen King with the style of Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, sort of an E.T. type style, isn't it? Yeah, very much so, yeah, you're right there. But again, he'd proven him, so that's him being an interesting new writer-director, but at the same time proving he's got these blockbuster chops and he can take a thing that worked before that has fallen on hard times and jolt it back in again.
Yeah, as long as you don't put too many layers.
Exactly. But that is essentially what we wanted from the first Star Wars, or that's what they wanted. They wanted a reboot, but that would push us off in new directions. So he was the perfect man for the job. Episode 8 was going to be Rian Johnson, or Ryan Johnson, I'm not sure. I always say it Rian, but I think people say it Ryan. I don't know. So I'm going to keep saying Rian Johnson. Now, I first became aware of him back in 2005 because he did Brick with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which is like a cool, it's almost like a modern neo-noir storyline, like a proper film noir, but set in a high school. So it was the first hints from him that I saw of, he likes to take the tropes that exist within certain things and then play with them and push them around a bit and push them to their limits. And again, like we discussed last episode, albeit briefly with Knives Out, I if we hadn't been running on with the intro, I may have stopped on that a little bit more because I think it's a great film and it is a classic whodunit, but it's not at the same time.
Yes.
It takes lots of things you understand about whodunits and you think it's going to happen and twists them a bit or plays them differently and keeps you guessing. And it doesn't have to fall back on that stupid thing of, it was that guy over there who was hidden in a cupboard for 2 hours in the whole film and we never showed you him, but that's who it was. Ha ha ha. No, it was a character that we were fully aware of that had happened. So all that works really well. I also I think it was Kermo's review of Knives Out. He said he went back and watched Knives Out a second time, and it tells you everything you need to know in the first 10 minutes. He said, without but you don't know at that point. It's only on a second viewing that you go, oh shit, you told me every fucking thing I needed to know to get this. And by 2012, he'd also done Looper. Now, he didn't really do a lot between those, actually. He did some short stuff, and he did some writing stuff, but not a lot of directorial stuff. But, I mean, Looper was I've just written mind-bending brilliance, because I think it is quite a...
I think did we go see that together, I believe?
May have done. It's the Bruce Willis, Joseph Gordon-Levitt again, isn't it? Where they're the same people looping... He's looping in time.
You, me, and our good friend Gav.
Yeah, I think it might have been.
So that, yeah.
And I really enjoyed that film.
Yeah, likewise. I don't think I've seen it again.
I don't think I've seen it again since actually. When I was looking at this,
it's one of those ones. One viewing is sometimes enough for some films. Yeah.
But yeah, Rian Johnson wrote and directed both of those. Yes. So we're getting a director with a voice, with a very distinct idea of what he's wanting to do. And then episode 9 was Colin Trevorrow, who I've got to be honest, I don't really know much about. And I looked him up on IMDb, and I've seen Book of Henry that he did quite recently, which starts out as a heartbreaking tale and then sort of goes off in a totally different direction about halfway through, and I wasn't on board with the different direction. But his first sort of credit is on a film called Reality Show from 2004. Never seen it. And a film called Safety Not Guaranteed that seemed to get some awards in 2012.
I feel like I know...
Well, I read about it, and actually I've just read... Sounds interesting, so I think I might go and look it up and have a look.
I feel like I've known this or seen it. I see so much.
But the point is, in those three, you've got three quality directors who have either proven they can do it before or proven they've got a voice that's important and interesting in the modern day, or in 2012 when that was. So, and I also personally, whether I've got no fact for this, I think you have to see that Disney had bought Marvel by this stage as well. Or had they? No, did they buy Marvel after Lucas?
I believe they bought them after.
Yeah, they did. But I can't help but think they were looking at Marvel and going, right, so you're... Because at that time, they were taking people like James Gunn and going, hey, go. Here's the film, here's Guardians, you go and do that. Just do what you want. You free reign.
But the thing is, I suppose,
Taika on Ragnarok feels like he was given the same sort of free reign. Now, I know not everyone is.
No. But in the respect of, I think with those as examples, there was nowhere near the level of expectation on Guardians and things like that as there would have been.
So they could take a chance.
Yes.
Now, yeah, exactly, and that's where I think this is where we start to fall over, because they decided to take a chance on something that maybe we shouldn't have taken a chance on. But I can see what we were trying to do. You got the safe reboot pair of hands in. So for Seven to start you off, you got your safe pair of hands in JJ, who you know can reboot a franchise and start a new franchise for you and that sort of thing. Then, personally, I think they wanted to do something different with it. I think they wanted to do something slightly off the standard. And that's why they chose Rian and Colin for the second 2 episodes. But I have no evidence to back that up. That's just the way I looking at it, I wonder whether that's the case. So, we got episode 7. Episode 7, I seem to remember I don't think there was too much fan outroar by it. I don't think everyone was entirely impressed with it. But I don't remember the level of vitriol that we got for episode 8, for example.
No, there were certain elements of it, Han going bye-bye, very much a rinse and repeat of Star Wars.
True, as we'll come to when we discuss the
But in terms of, the vitriol heat, absolute heat
the fans
that came out.
The fans were all right with it, as far as I remember, and were pleased with some parts of it, and yes, had criticisms of others, fine.
Sure.
So, we went through that. We're gearing up for Last Jedi to release, and unfortunately Carrie Fisher died. before Last Jedi actually released, but she had filmed everything for that film. Now, the exact timeline and what happened next is difficult to say as fact here. What I've done is researched, looked online, looked at all the stories going around, and as far as I can see, we've got there are two stories here as to what happened next. Okay, so at this point, at the beginning of this sequel trilogy, we had these plans and we had these things in place. Now we know that at the point where 8 released and Carrie Fisher died, Episode 9's script was written by Trevorrow and was ready there. I believe he was actually gearing up for pre-production to get it going. And obviously Carrie Fisher died. Now, what we know for a fact is then, after that, Colin Trevorrow left Episode 9 over creative differences, our old friend. Now, I've heard from there was a couple of sources that were pointed towards his reasons to be because Carrie Fisher died, and Episode 9, she was a core to the entire film.
Yeah, I'd read something
which,
similar.
At the point of this interview, we couldn't be sure of that, but obviously now, as we sit here now, the original script for Episode 9 leaked and was out there, and indeed she was the emotional core of the film. It would make sense, because if you think about it, the first film used Han as the emotional core, the second film used Luke as the emotional core, and the third film would have used Leia, thus giving each of our original 3 characters, the original trilogy, a good send-off in each film.
Or Chewie.
Yeah, true. So, because she died and the whole film was based around her, he didn't know how to rework this script and how to rewrite it to make it work anymore, because of the essences that had been things that were set up in the previous films that he was paying off in his film, because that was the plan. There was the plan to pay off stuff later on. But it could be true, because his leaked script does back that up, because it does use Leia as a total backbone for it. But whether that's the case or not, we don't know. But that's where we then left. That Episode 9 got left like that. The other story is that Bob Iger, the head of Disney, when they first started down the road of the sequel trilogy, he left Kathleen Kennedy in charge and said, look, it's fine, I don't need to be involved in this, you know what you're doing, off you go. And then she got JJ in, and she got Rian in, and blah blah blah, and they were doing this, that and the other. And there is a story that Kathleen Kennedy was very keen to work with Rian and with Colin, because they were going to divert the story, or divert the mythos a bit, and take it away from a sort of lineage aspect, and make it a bit more all-encompassing and available to everyone. So you don't have to have been born into family X to be able to be a Jedi, or to be able to be one with the Force. When the fan reaction came back into Episode 8, just bear in mind, the critics generally liked 8, because they liked that it was a more challenging film. They liked that it took away, they liked that it tried to subvert things that we knew about Star Trek. Now, Star Wars even. Again, when I get to Episode 8, I've got some notes on that to illustrate that point. But after the reaction to Episode 8, the rumours, or the word is that Bob Iger came back and went, you fucked this up, I've now got a course correct, get me J.J. Abrams on the phone, he can do the last piece because people liked his first one.
J.J. Abrams.
What did I say?
J.J. Abrams.
Oh yeah, it's Abrams, isn't it? Abrams. As it's written. Yeah, it's Abrams. Sorry.
That's fine, I'll pitch you out how many times today.
That's fine. So yeah, he wanted to get J.J. Abrams back because the fans seemed to like Episode 7 more than they liked Episode 9. Not sure what's true, but they're the stories that I've managed to piece together from different points on the internet. Either way, we can clearly see that post Episode 8, things were not well in this. And they were on a stupidly tight deadline to get this last part out. And obviously they didn't want any of the background machinations to get out to the media, to make it look like anything was going wrong. So, JJ came back. He had a very, very small amount of time compared to the amount of time he had for the first one. Because I think that released 2015, was it? I think it was supposed to release in the May. and it got pushed to the December because an Avengers film was
15,
coming out
15
in the
sounds
May.
about right,
So it must be 15 when they were
17,
buying Marvel.
19, 15,
because
17, 19,
yeah, it must have been 15 when they were buying Marvel then, because they moved it from May because it would have clashed with an Avengers film.
They put it
And
in
they
December.
didn't want to screw themselves over, so they put it down to December instead. So he had pretty much 3 years to work on it after they announced. And, you know, however long they were planning it before they announced, I don't know. But he then had to do this. So he comes in, he's got very little time, a script he hasn't written, because it's Colin Trevorrow's episode 9 script, and he's got a script he can't make, because the key the key character in the film is dead, so you can't make the film you've got in front of you. So he came in, he did what he did, and episode 9 is what we get. Now, with all of that in mind, let's go back to 2015, and a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, okay.
And let's start with Star Wars Episode 7. Apologies if you can hear the rain. It's very loud here today. The storm may have gone. No, it hasn't. It came back because I invoked the name
Yeah, we won't go.
that I shouldn't have named.
Yeah, we won't go.
The opening sequence of Episode 7, for me, sets up everything JJ was going for, and delivers everything JJ was going for. There is, like, the first shot is a direct homage to the first shot in A New Hope.
How many homages are there, though? Let's face it.
How many what?
How many homages are there in this film?
Oh, quite, and this
Yeah.
is what we get to.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's an homage to the first shot in A New Hope, because a big thing covers up what you're looking at, and then things fly out of it. The music is Star Wars music.
It's John Williams.
It's John Williams. So it's Star Wars, and it sounds like Star Wars, and we're getting little bits of Imperial March here and there, and we're getting little bits of goody music and stuff, and it's creating the big scene. But again, the music is always so grandiose and so, you know, it's got such gravitas behind it almost. And this is a theme that that plays through with it, is that Star Wars has always, there is a reverence for the things in Star Wars. For them to be taken so very seriously, so seriously, that you can't poke fun at them in any way, or that you can't do something more interesting with them, because no, that's what you've got to do, because that's what we've always done, okay? And JJ, as you say, clearly didn't want to deviate from that. He was like, well, I'm basically just gonna, and it's like the South Park says, the South Park Member Berries episode, when they look at it, he just went in and he basically redid A New Hope with different characters, some slight tweaks on the plot points, but just made sure he hit all the good nostalgia beats that made all the original fans go, oh, yay!
I remember.
Exactly. Now, whether that's good or bad is the point. That's personal choice, whether you like that or not. I think it makes it... I mean, you've got people doing their best job, and like the landing sequence where they're coming down, that opening sequence when the troopers are coming down. I love the JJ-ness of it, because he's instantly injecting it with a bit more grounded reality than I'm used to. Because the shot where you see inside the dropship and the troopers are all just stood there and the lights are flickering on and off and the camera's jogging about, it's like a war film. It invoked a war film for me. And I've never felt like that before. I've always felt like it felt clean and sterile almost in the environments from the original trilogy. And again, when you get to the dirt, Stormtroopers have dirt on them in this one. Their white is dirty in some places because they've been out. So of course it would be, but in the original trilogy you never saw that. Everything was clean and crisp.
Yeah, I think I mean, there's dirt, but I think only in one perspective on one person.
No, if you're talking about Finn,
yeah,
no.
I mean,
because
I thought
blood. He gets blood down his face, and then his outfit has dirt on it. It has an accumulation of dirt. And as he comes in the ship to take his mask off for the first time, I thought, I bet he's the only one with it. And actually, the stormtrooper that walks out as he's walking onto the ship, their back plate is dirty.
Okay.
It has muck around the edge of it, just a dusting of muck, because that's what would happen.
Okay. All right.
So there's just those sort of things that just ground it a little bit more for me, and help to make me think of it as more of a real thing than a clearly a space opera or whatever it might be. They introduce a good hook. in that first opening sequence. Again, like you would expect, almost exactly like the sequence with old Ben in the hut and the thing, and here's the key piece of information. And, you know, it's, again, like you say, very played. He knows exactly what he's doing. I absolutely love the laser pulse that hangs in the air in that opening sequence. So cool. And again, that's just him playing with effects like they couldn't in the past, because it wouldn't have looked very good. But that's, you know, seeing that side to Force powers, we know you can do that. But the fact that he's holding it in place and he's holding the beam, and Poe can't move, and then they get Poe out, and he's still holding that beam. But he's that fucking powerful, he doesn't have to think about it. It's just in the back of his head, he's like, yeah, that beam's still there, I'm still holding it. And then he just lets it go at the end of the sequence. I love that. But that opening sequence, as I say, that showed me what I was getting. And essentially what I was getting was a greatest hits. I was getting a compilation of the things that I loved about the first film with different characters, so the cameos that I wanted and expected, but then the introduction of the new. And when we first meet Rey, which I think is the second scene after that opening battle sequence on, it's on Jakku, isn't it? Yeah. Where we then go and meet Rey, and we're first introduced to her, and she's, you know, digging around the AT-ATs and stuff. I loved that, because I'd never thought about how big these things were on the inside. And it's just that element of perspective, and that she's in the middle of a battle. You know, a battle clearly happened there that was, it's been retconned a couple of times, I think, as to whether it was the final battle of the Empire or not. Because supposedly Endor was supposed to be the final battle.
Yeah.
But apparently in Battlefront, the game...
Yeah, I was just about to say, yeah, that's where it comes in.
It said that Jakku was the final battle of the Empire.
Yeah, because...
That was like a last stand of the Empire or something.
It was all to do with the fact that the remnants of the fleets, etc., which kind of weren't there, then had that big battle. Yeah. But again, I think the Star Wars comics covered various different elements.
Well, Rise of Skywalker then rewrote it back to Endor being the final battle. Yeah. So, you know, there's been retconned a couple of times. Yeah. But I think probably the only real recognisable new piece of music that I noticed is Rey's theme. And I adore that theme. Such a lovely piece of work from John Williams again. It must have been nice for him to actually get to write some original music for once for Star Wars, rather than just going, oh, where are my old tapes? Well, I'll chuck that in.
Yeah. No, I mean, as you say, the introduction of the new against the old in respect of the same tropes as previous. We get Cameron Poe, Oscar Isaacs, Rebel Pilot.
Cameron Poe? Who's Cameron Poe?
Cameron Poe?
Poe Dameron.
Poe.
But Cameron Poe is somebody.
Yeah. He's in Con
Air.
Con Air, yeah.
Nick Cage in Con Air.
Sorry, yeah. Don't know how the hell that got in there.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is. I love that.
Yeah, there you go. There's the link between Con Air and Star Wars for you.
There's our 60 years of separation.
Poe Dameron. Sorry, my apologies.
That's alright, that's funny.
The introduction of Poe Dameron. Again, Rebel Pilot, quirky robot. Oh, where have we seen this before?
Yeah.
We get the introduction of Finn, a stormtrooper who doesn't necessarily feel that he should be there. Obviously having a bit of a panic attack, which nobody seems to pick up on, aside from a couple of side characters. And then we get the introduction of Rey. Now, yes, Rey was very much the most interesting of the three characters straight off the bat. Just this innocent-looking girl stripping away an AT-AT in the middle of the desert, going just to survive. Essentially, that is the crux of her.
Yeah.
Again, reflections back to another character who's
absolutely. Like I say, you've got a sand planet where she's doing a mundane task, but she feels like she feels like she's destined for something greater.
Yeah. And then comes across...
It's Luke on Tatooine.
And then comes across a robot with a secret. Who'd have thought it? So, anyway, sorry to break your flow.
No, it's absolutely fine. But yeah, he brings up the war movie thing again a bit later on, with a lovely shot that I really like. But there's like a sunrise, and he has TIE fighters flying out of the sunrise, which invokes, I think Apocalypse Now with the Hueys whooping into the foreground as the sun rises behind them. Kong Skull Island uses a very similar shot to invoke Apocalypse Now as well, where they have their helicopters in front of the rising sun and then Kong rises up in front of the sun. And it's just that image to invoke the feeling of a war film again that just grounds it a little bit for me. I mean, yeah, my last point here is basically it's episode 4 with some tweaks to the plot and new characters in the roles.
Yeah.
I like that.
I mean, I had no problem with it, and I like the bargaining relationship between Finn and Ray, Finn and Poe. I like the interplay relationships
particularly that early bit with Ray and Finn, where it's that whole "stop taking my hand."
Yeah. He just keeps grabbing her hand and running off with it.
And then I love that because even then he knows to play it off.
Yeah.
Because then the last bit they do, she puts her hand out and he grabs it, and then they go, and that's the final escape.
Yes. So those interplays were fantastic. The reveal of the Millennium Falcon, again, it's just like we won't take that ship. He's a piece of shit. Okay, we take that ship. Oh, what?
The garbage will do.
Yeah, the garbage. It's like, hang on a minute, it's the fucking Millennium Falcon. Like, nobody, you know. And then this is the Millennium Falcon. Hang on a minute, you just said it was a piece of shit, love. Like, you know, until you knew what the ship was, like, stick by your original assessment if you're going to say it.
And I think there's problems there with the timeline. Because I didn't get around to researching the whole timeline thing, because I'll maybe cover that in a different episode another time. But
so, I mean, I think it was very well put together. I do genuinely still enjoy it. Probably the most enjoyable of the 3 sequel films for me, at the very least. Do I have my issues with it? Most definitely, yes. A big honking laser that sucks every single bit of energy from a sun, yet they don't seem to indicate there are any problems with radiation or the heat or anything else on the planet itself. We're just sucking energy right from a sun, and we're not really considering the scientific implications.
what happens to the planets that are orbiting that sun?
Yeah,
what
exactly.
happens to Starkiller Base itself when it's drained the sun, because it's no longer orbiting that sun because it's drained it? So does it just spin off into space?
What also puzzles me as well is like, and it becomes an important part, because you know they're landing on this planet and there's the snow everywhere, and it's like, oh, Chewie's a bit cold and rah rah rah. Okay. You're still sucking the energy from a sun. You're sucking all the heat and energy from a sun. There's all this snow. No. No.
Totally on board.
Not going to fucking happen.
And the point I was going to make, I've just remembered that before we had to reset the video, was timeline. She says, I think it's when she meets Han on the Millennium Falcon, Rey says, I thought they were a myth, when speaking of Luke and the Jedi and stuff. So how many years have passed? Because Han's still alive.
Yeah.
He's older.
No. If you think about it, it's got to have been an age period, because the Return of the Jedi would have been done, and then after that we obviously get a few years, and then Han and Leia have a kid. That kid is now grown into his 20s, so it's got to have been 20 plus years.
So
at least 20 plus years.
I would say I can go to 40 before I start to run out of time frame.
Yeah, I'd say maybe 30. Maybe 30 then.
You could realistically say that by the end of, if Leia, Luke and Han at the end of, because it almost is that anyway, between the shooting of the films anyway, it almost is the exact right amount of time. I could believe that the age they were at the end of 6, add 40 years, and that's where we are now. Is 40 years enough time for something to fall into myth?
Well, this is the thing.
And not just myth.
Yeah.
Galaxy-wide myth.
Yeah. Well,
because she lives on Jakku, where there are the wreckage of Empire ships.
Yeah.
Who does she think brought those down?
Well, this is it. I mean, let's face it. By the point where the Empire has risen and fallen, all the Jedi have been worked out, or so they believe.
Yeah.
Order 66 has occurred, and the mass extinction of the Jedi.
Yeah.
What they also, I suppose this is emphasised a little bit more in Rebels and in Clone Wars a little bit as well, is the fact that Palpatine goes out of his way to kind of hide the facts of the Jedi, as though they never existed in the first place.
So he tries to rewrite history. Basically.
Yeah, essentially, it's that propaganda machine that dispels any belief that they were ever there in the first place. And that's the thing.
Obviously the beef we have with that is that we shouldn't have to watch 2 animated series to get that information.
Correct, yes.
That's the problem with it. Again, all this bollocks that I've prefixed this entire discussion with, I shouldn't have to know all that shit. I shouldn't have to know about that to help form my opinion on whether I like Episode 9 and whether it's a good film or not. I shouldn't have to know all that shit.
Again, there's little things within it just to cut it. So you've got zero interaction between Rey and Leia, and yet suddenly Rey comes back after Han's died and stuff like this. Who's the person whose arms she runs into?
Yeah.
Somebody she's never ever fucking spoken to before. Whereas Chewie, the poor bastard's just lost his best friend.
Walks
Who the
straight
fuck
past him.
Nobody gives Chewie any comfort.
No.
What's that about? Justice for Chewie.
Justice for
Justice for Chewie, man.
Justice for Chewie.
Justice for Chewie.
Which was an actual hashtag.
Yes, I know.
at the
That's
time.
the only reason that I'm remembering.
It's funny. But yeah, I think I watched Seven and I wasn't blown away by it.
No.
I was very much thinking, hold on, I've fucking seen this. Like, particularly the third act. Because even the third act where they're stood around the big hologram and Han essentially said, I'm sure he basically says the line, haven't we done this before? Isn't it just a bit bigger? And they then go, well, yeah, look, there's the Death Star. Here's Starkiller Base. And you're like,
come on.
yeah, so it's just
this
the same
is
thing
the
that-
Death Star, which was massive. This is Starkiller Base, which is 50 times bigger. Oh, God. Yeah, all right, it has to be bigger,
But
doesn't
it's
it?
like,
It has to be
okay,
bigger.
so you're just doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, I took issue with that in the first place. And it's only after seeing 8 that I realised that I would rather have 7 than 8. If 8 is what...
Oh, yes, no, yeah.
If 8 was what that person wanted to do and push things off in a different direction, actually I'm the kind of Star Wars fan that just wants more of the same, I think. Certainly from my main episodes. I'm a bit more forgiving of the other stuff because it can push the boundaries, it can play with it, because I've not got 30 years, 40 years, 50 years worth of built-in knowledge of a previous story and a previous way of doing things. That's why I feel that, yes, maybe you should do the riskier stuff in Rogue One, or in Solo, or in a Mandalorian series. That's where you play in the sandbox. Don't play in the sandbox where everyone has already got their place in the sandbox, and the sandbox is already organised, and everything fits in its component parts. Don't start fucking with that, because you are never going to get anywhere, and it's never going to end well. And again, I genuinely think that there was specific marketing involved when we get to episode 9 in order to protect episode 9 from potential backlash. So, alright, let's move into episode 8 then. So, episode 8, The Last Jedi. The opening sequence. I would start positive, because I love that opening sequence, with the attack on the Dreadnought, and all the bombers, and Rose's sister. I love it. It looks great. We get to see the Poe we know, but it also sets up his character arc for the rest of it, because he makes a decision to have the bombers destroy the Dreadnought, even though they should cut their losses and run. He goes, no, we're going to do this, we can do this. And the last bomber gets the bombs and blows up the whole ship.
Yeah, the casualties at this point, though, have been fucking staggering.
Exactly, and that's
absolutely
the thing.
staggering.
But that's where I like it, because Poe makes this decision, and he then argues his point later with Leia, and says, but you can't talk about them like that, they're heroes. And she says, yes, there are a lot of dead heroes, no leaders. And it just stops him. And this is, I mean, how annoying is it that the film is written off, yet actually there is some really interesting character work going on at points in this film. And the point will be on this, The Last Jedi isn't for me. It's not what I want from a main episode Star Wars film. But I cannot knock Johnson for what he was trying to do. In terms of a man trying to execute his vision, I can see what he was doing, and I think he did really well at trying to execute his vision. However, his vision is not what my vision was, or what I wanted the new vision to be for Star Wars. So from that point, and we get that lovely opening sequence, from there it just starts to go wrong for me. We get our introduction to Luke. So we spent the entire of episode 7 getting to Luke, trying to get Rey and the lightsaber to Luke, because that was going to kick off the next phase. She walks up to him, she presents the lightsaber, and what does he do? He throws it over his shoulder. Now that is Rian Johnson in a nutshell. He doesn't give a shit about the reverence that has been put on this piece of metal. It's a fucking piece of metal. It isn't going to do anything. And this is my point. I can see exactly what he's saying. Luke says, what did you think was going to happen? You were going to come here and give me this sword, and suddenly one man was going to go out and destroy everything and win the war. What did you think was going to be the result of this? And I can see what he's saying. I agree. You're absolutely right, actually. What the fuck did I think was going to happen? And then actually, what I thought was going to happen was essentially what happened in Empire. Rey was going to go off and train with her Yoda, Luke, and learn the ways and go back and then be a key part in the fight for Episode 9. That's what I thought was going to happen. Because again, that would fit with what I understand about what I'd been set up with in Episode 7, which was more of the same that I was used to, and that's where I thought we were going. But yeah, the subversion at that point of the trope of and the reverence that is applied to everything. And like I say, I can't knock him for it. I see what he was trying to do, and throughout the whole film, Johnson, and he said himself, he wanted to move away from this royal family-esque lineage that came with Star Wars and the Force. And you know, that you have to be this person's son or daughter in order. You know, Rey had to be someone important's son or daughter. Johnson never wanted that. That's why, as far as he was concerned, Rey's parents were nobody.
Yeah, I would have been far happier if it would have been.
You see, but I wouldn't, because that subverted the trope.
No,
The trope is that everyone in Star Wars, if they've got a funny background and you don't know who their parents are, they're going to be related to someone who we've seen before.
But I suppose
rightly or wrongly.
My argument with that is, like, again, because I've watched animated series like Rebels, Ezra Miller's parents don't turn out to be hugely important Jedis. He's just strong with the Force. Kanan Jarrus doesn't suddenly have a huge connection with family that trails back generations who were Jedis. He's just powerful with the Force. And that's where that comes in for me. I don't necessarily feel everybody has to be connected to a fucking Skywalker or this, that, or the other. That just doesn't work.
Yeah, no. I totally agree. And like I say, I could take that either way at the time. I don't know how I would have felt about her parents being nothing. At the time, I felt cheated. But I only felt cheated because I felt like everything I'd watched up to that point had led me to believe that her parents were important. And then for that to suddenly be written off as nothing made me just go, oh, okay.
I think this is perhaps where Rian Johnson was coming from. It wasn't the fact that it was her parents were important. It was that she was important.
That's it.
And that was it. It was, and that was it. That bit where she's looking in the mirror and she's looking at every reflection of herself, trying to suss out where is my lineage and stuff like that. That doesn't matter. It's about who you are and what you do that's important.
And again, everyone who kicks off about the Force and the way new people can use the Force and stuff. Rogue One, Chirrut Imwe, Donnie Yen's character. He's using the Force.
He's one with the Force and the Force. You know, I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
I take away from that film that he is in touch with the Force. He's not a Jedi. He doesn't use a lightsaber. He doesn't know. You know, he knows the lore and stuff because he's obviously studied it in some way. But yeah, he's in touch with the Force. Yet he has no lineage as far as I can see. And as I say, he was never a Jedi. He was never anything. But that is accepted.
Obviously, I don't want to jump too far ahead because we may discuss it for Episode 9. But there is yet another character within these films who later on becomes Force sensitive. Well, we're indicated that is the case.
Yes.
Well, as far as we're concerned, he has no lineage because he doesn't even know where the fuck he comes from.
Yeah.
So, you know...
So why is he allowed to do that and then the other isn't?
Yes.
Is the weird thing. So, no matter how I feel about what Johnson was trying to do and the way he plays it, and, you know, we could talk about what's your opinion on Leia pulling herself back into the...
I have no qualms about that.
I've got no problem at all.
No qualms about that at all. Because the thing is that we have never established categorically the specific powers or the specific Force users' abilities.
Well, it stands to reason to me that if you can pull something towards you, you can pull you towards something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Hold on, she's in space.
Yeah.
So there's no friction, there's no gravity, there's no air, there's nothing pulling against her.
Again, we've, as is kind of revealed a bit in Episode 9, but as you touched on, we found a 30, possibly 40-year gap between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. Well, who's to say what training she undertook? The fact that she was Luke's sister and clearly was strong with the Force because, she's from royalty of, you know. But again, the fact is we don't know much about her, how much training she had. Who's to say that that's not what a Jedi could fucking do? I've got no problem with that, absolutely not. I do have problems with okay, the timeline for me is all over the place.
That's what I'm coming to next for the actual plot of the film.
The problem is like we've gone from the end of episode 7. We've literally gone, this is the end of episode 7, a heartbeat away is now episode 8. So we've got all this shit kicking off in episode 8. So we've barely even gone a couple of days between the two pissing movies.
Well, potentially the Resistance storyline has moved on very slightly, but the Rey storyline picks up from exactly where we left it.
It's going, if this is going on at the same time this is going on, then this has all happened within a space of a 2-day period.
At the end of episode 7, they weren't being attacked.
No.
We didn't know a dreadnought existed.
No.
Yet suddenly, beginning of episode 8, there they are, they're being attacked, dreadnought. But again, what was the beginning of Empire?
Yeah. And what about...
The beginning of Empire was, they've found them, they're being attacked, they've got to escape from the planet.
What about Kylo Ren, who had just gone through the ringer, and now he's like, he's all being all healed up? Hang on a minute, I'm pretty sure you just got battered, and now you're picking yourself up and you're in a...
Yeah, so there's a passage of time there as well.
The passage of time really focuses.
Absolutely. And it only gets worse, I feel.
Oh, it does. That's the thing. It's like as soon as kind of like Finn finally wakes up, he's like, "Where's Rey?" Okay, we cut to Rey and we cut to that little section, and I love the interplay between. I say the interplay, the very brief interplay between Luke and Chewie. It's just like, Chewie, what are you doing here? Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, that's what I want to see. Why are you cutting now? I didn't want that.
And they don't interact again.
No, that's it. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, like, there's a reason that we enjoyed the interactions between these characters because of that. I really enjoyed the interactions between Finn and Rey. And guess what? For the whole film, that doesn't happen.
No, because we introduced Rose Tycho, who is a character I have absolutely no
I have no qualms about.
I don't care that she's an Asian, and my God, the fact that the woman had to come off social media
is absolutely
Star Wars fans were so upset that they had cast an Asian.
It's just deplorable.
Fuck off, Star Wars fans, quite frankly. I do not want to be considered the same as you.
Yeah. It's deplorable that is the situation that we found ourselves in. I had no problems with her character. I had problems with her character suddenly declaring her love for Finn within the space of 24 hours. Yeah. Oh, you can't die. I love you. What a crock of shit. Sorry.
Well, she doesn't say I love you. I'll be fair. She says, this is how we're going to win the war. Saving the things we love.
Okay, yeah, but essentially...
And that's after she stops him killing himself, when that would have been perfect.
But it was essentially a declaration of love, which
I'm not arguing that, but she doesn't actually say that.
That whole bullshit casino scene, which bored the absolute pants off of me. The casino, bollocks, there you go.
See, I told you earlier, casino equals bollocks.
Trying to, like, you know what, this famous actor, he's a friend of mine, let's put him in this scene. Let's put Justin Theroux in this scene. Let's put this supermodel in this scene. No, just make semblance of the actual fucking film. Yeah. It was a colossal pissing disaster, that middle section. Absolute pissing disaster. Yeah. Didn't care about Benicio del Toro's character. Okay, he's a little bit, on the dark side.
But he's doing the Benicio del Toro thing where he's got the little... He tries to give himself a little tick every now and then, but it's not consistent and it doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's like, I'm playing both sides. Guess what? You're going to betray them. I saw that a million miles away. Sorry, pal.
But wait. That's impossible.
What?
Him betraying them in the way he does, with the data he does, is impossible.
Yeah.
And I shall explain why.
Okay, that's cool. Again, I'm just trying to go through all of the tropes of things that I hated.
Let's bring it back for a second. We may hit some of that as
all right, okay, carry on then.
So okay, let's just pull it back to a little bit more towards the beginning again, right? So let's put to one side what he was trying to do, and that he was trying to change the way the Force works, and perhaps open it up and make it be all inclusive.
Sure.
Because there's the sequence. No, not going to discuss that. The problem for me is no, I discuss it in a minute. And because I've just pulled you back because I wanted to discuss something earlier, and then I was about to do the same thing. So no, shush. Shush, Pete. This Pete in the head. The problem for me is that when you look at the sort of core narrative, it's boring.
Yeah, boring as shit.
Because after that initial opening sequence, what do the Resistance do for the rest of the 2-hour runtime?
Sit on a ship and do fuck all.
Well, yeah, we take part in the slowest car chase or spaceship chase in sci-fi history, as far as I understand it.
Yeah, apparently people can still flip off and get to a ship and disappear.
And that's where we get to.
Caught.
So yeah, we've got 18 hours of fuel left, and somehow Rose and Finn managed to fuck off on another ship, come back again,
and we've still got 6 hours of fuel left. So it takes them about 12 hours to fuck off to the other side of the galaxy and come back again. And I thought to myself, how does Maz, is it Maz or Maz?
Maz Kanata.
Okay, I thought it was Kanata. Anyway, that one, how does she know Poe? They never met.
No.
She met Han, who she already knew, and she met Rey, and she met Finn.
Yeah.
So Finn was there in that discussion.
Sure.
But I'm sure Poe is the one who makes the call. And he's like talking to her and stuff.
Well, they find them on that location.
Like the three
so
people
maybe...
Maz is talking to are Finn, Poe, and Rose.
Yeah.
And she's only met one of them.
Now, I suppose
and he was a duplicitous ass
I'm trying to play devil's advocate in the sense
By all
of
means.
we don't know necessarily his full history in terms of who he's actually interacted with before.
True.
So it is
Very
feasibly possible that he may have
could
interacted with.
Fair enough. I'll give him that then.
I'm playing devil's advocate of the Last Jedi. What the shit is going
amazed. The casino. Let's go for it. The casino. As I say, my notes. The first note is casino equals bollocks.
Yes.
The reason for this, not just the fact that they fucking skip off and they come back and what they go off to do in the first fucking place doesn't get achieved. So the whole exercise is pointless.
Yep.
It's a waste of fucking time. And there's no need for it other than the fact that they didn't really have anything to do with Finn and Rose.
No.
And I'll give him that he wanted those kids. Those kids in the sort of, I don't know what those animals are called. Yeah, but the stable hand lads. They wanted those because there's the line later on which is, we are the spark that ignites the fire that will burn down the baddies and stuff. And again, if you look at thematically, hope is a huge thing through this. There's always hope, and we're going to burn down the old. Because there's the line from, is it Luke or Kylo? I can't remember, but it's something about erase the past, burn it if you have to. And obviously Luke wanting to burn the sacred Jedi tree down and all the books and stuff, and Kylo wanting to burn down everything that Snoke stood for and what he was going through. So there's a lot of, again, thematically, this film is really rich.
Yeah.
I just don't fucking want it, and I don't think it works very well. So here we go, the casino.
Yeah.
Benicio del Toro's garbage character betrays them by giving away the information that they are the Resistance are escaping from the huge cruiser in little transports that they can't see.
How do they know that?
Quite. That's why it's impossible.
Yeah.
Because Benicio del Toro meets Finn and Rose.
Yeah.
They don't know that that's the plan.
Yeah.
He could potentially, I would let them suggest, in defence, oh, well, he spoke to Poe. Because Poe was kind of involved over the radio. So you could argue that he'd have spoken to Poe. Hold on. Even if you argue he spoke to Poe, Poe didn't know.
No.
Poe didn't know the plan.
No.
The only people that knew the plan were Holdo and maybe her closest people.
There is no interaction between Finn and the people on the ship at the whole period that this is all going on.
Exactly. There is no possible way that Benicio del Toro's character, and again, it's such a shit character, I don't even know his name. I haven't written it down.
I don't
know it.
Couldn't even tell you.
I genuinely don't know it. I could sit watching the film now and I probably wouldn't know his fucking name.
Yeah, it's true.
He couldn't have known that information. He cannot have betrayed them with that information because there's no possible way that he knew that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. Now, again, I've had these discussions with people who aren't quite as critical as we are, and I think there is something to be said that yes, when you are a critic of things or you are trying to look at things in a critical way, you will maybe nitpick slightly more than other people will. My argument back in defence would be, if your film is keeping me entertained enough for me to not think about these things in the moment, then that's cool. Yeah, if I sit down afterwards and start picking it apart, then there's something to be said for that. But I would always admit, at the time, I didn't notice, man, because I was just so wrapped up in what was going on. You got me along for the ride. Because what was happening counter to the casino is the slowest space chase in history.
Right.
And then on the other side, you've got miserable old Luke Skywalker not wanting to train Rey. I'm not interested in that, I'm not interested in this, and I'm not interested in that. So you know what I'm going to do? My mind is going to start picking apart all the fucking shit that you're not covering.
See, again, I'm still unsure as to why suddenly this tiny little rebel ship, or resistance ship, this tiny little ship which has a tinier engine than this massive bastard over here, why this cannot catch up with this.
Yes.
Because physics, right?
We're in space, aren't we?
We're in space, right? And
so it doesn't matter that the other thing's 15 times bigger because there's no drag.
We've just discussed in a previous pod about gravity and about the importance of speed and G's and things like this. They're basically doing fuck all to try and catch up with them when that really should not be a their engines are faster than ours.
How?
How and why is that the case? You are a massive conglomerate that's built this massive bastard ship. They've cobbled the thing together, and yet you can't catch up to them.
They've got an ancient rebel cruiser.
Yeah.
And they managed to go faster than you. And again, let's take it from a design aspect. Look at the back of one of the Star Destroyers. That's got far more fucking engines than the back of a Carillion cruiser.
I mean, look at this. The ship is like...
What are you doing?
Snook's ship or whatever, isn't it? And the thing is
ship,
fucking massive.
Yeah.
It is the size of like 50 cities
Yeah.
in one.
And again, along the back,
can't
you've
catch
got...
up with it.
Engine. Massive blue engines in the middle just to show how massive they are. Engine. What the fuck is the point in all these engines?
And you can't just press the button and go, woo, let's go a little bit faster.
And then not even, something I hadn't even considered until the other week, and I spoke to one of my colleagues and I was chatting about this because this episode was coming up and he's a fan. So I was talking to him about it, about episode 8 and some of the issues with it and stuff and discussing with him. And he went, you know what's always confused me? I was like, go on. And he's like, well, because they're chasing for a while before we're told they've got 18 hours of fuel left on the cruiser, right? So that's the Resistance's ticking clock. That's our ticking clock for the rest of the film. Is that not enough time for one of the first order ships, like just one, maybe?
Yeah, we've had this discussion, yeah.
Light speed in front, turn around and wait.
Yeah.
Or turn around and start coming back towards you on your engine drives.
Yeah.
Why can't you do that?
I want a pincer movement.
Exactly. You had 18 hours.
Yeah.
Or more than 18 hours. 18 hours, it's like, say, after a bit, we get told they can go for another 18 hours. What?
Yeah.
And again, when you consider that this tiny little ship was able to fuck off and get back within 12 hours, you couldn't just warp ahead, or light speed ahead, turn around and wait for them. You couldn't light speed in another fucking fleet from somewhere else in the galaxy in 18 hours.
Yeah.
It just does not make sense.
Trying to turn Chewie into a vegan. Do we have to?
That does not make sense.
Do we really have to turn Chewie into a vegan? Like, why?
Oh, they just want... Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe... Is Rian Johnson a vegan? Is
I
he
don't
trying
know.
to subliminally
But
turn
what the
us all
fuck?
vegan?
Like, oh, okay, I don't want to eat these little
The porgs.
creature because it looks cute.
Oh, the porgs are cute. I'll
Who
leave
the
that.
fuck cares? Like, people go, ooh, look, a little pig, that looks nice. Yeah, but guess what? Bacon tastes better.
Yeah. And my wonder is why do that in the first place.
Yeah.
We never saw Chewie eating an Ewok arm or anything. Or being tempted to.
At what point did we actually go, yeah, Chewie is he's a proper meat eater?
Yeah.
At no point throughout the entirety
Again,
of Star Wars did we make that.
Maybe that's
you know.
Rian Johnson trying to inject some of the comedy into
that's
it because
fair,
he wanted to do that. He did that with the milk and stuff, and
Yeah.
having Luke with all our milk
Yeah,
dripping
no,
down his face,
that I had no problem
girding
with.
up at the camera and stuff for comedy, and it's like, okay, I get that, but yeah,
Yeah, let's free a bunch of animals because we don't like animal cruelty. Okay.
fine, but
Right,
they
but-
look. I'm sorry, they look crap.
Yeah.
Again, we've just done an episode talking about great CG
Yeah.
in a television program.
Yeah.
And I think most of that escape sequence looks awful
Yeah.
because again, I'll tell you what it is. It's like watching one of the prequels
Yeah.
because the whole set
Yeah.
is fake
Yeah.
and green screen and shit, and so you've got no reference point for anything. And then you see Finn and Rose green screen bouncing on top of a very, very fake animal, and it's like, no, maybe not. And not to say they all are, because the crystalline ones at the end, I actually think look really cool.
Yeah, they look bad.
And they managed to get like all the reflections off the different, the way Crystal would do that. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know.
But not to take away from the film itself, there are, as I say, a couple of bits which I'm just kind of go, I actually quite enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Luke and Yoda.
Yes.
That interaction where it's just like,
'cause
your mind is not on, this way. And I was like, oh man, that.
I like that it's
can we
old
just have
funny
the
Yoda
whole
as
fucking,
well.
can we have the whole film of just those two interacting?
Yeah.
That would be far better.
Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah. The smugness of Luke towards the end when he's having that little battle and he's just dancing around and things like that. His hello to Leia, little nod to C-3PO, all well played, all very well done. No problem with that at all.
Well, this is, I come round to, I feel it picks up when we get down to that planet.
Yeah.
I think there's some really interesting design choices from a production value point of view. The sort of, the planet is made out of some sort of red mineral.
Yes.
With
Salt
snow on the top,
like
or
that,
salt on the top,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something. And it does create some very cool, dramatic visuals,
Yeah.
particularly as those little speeder things are coming out and you can see all the trails coming up and where
Yeah.
people are going and stuff.
And again,
and it's a really nice choice, and I think it looks great on screen.
And the bit where, if again you're paying attention to the film, you notice that as Luke arrives and starts walking around, there are no footprints.
Yeah.
There's none of this red dust
That's it.
appearing because he's a projection.
Exactly. The clues are there the whole time, and obviously to the viewer, not to Kylo or anyone else, because
Yes.
they haven't seen him again. But we know because he's suddenly younger.
Yes.
He suddenly looks a bit more tidy and a bit younger.
Yes.
And that's for Kylo Ren, so that Kylo Ren sees him as his younger self.
He's also got his lightsaber.
Yeah, which doesn't exist at that point.
Exactly. Again, there's a couple of bits. I think, in terms of performances, I think Adam Driver is the best actor in this film by a country mile.
Yeah, he certainly has the most work to do.
Yeah.
Emotionally and character-wise.
I really enjoyed Daisy Ridley in the first one. She begins to grate on me in this one.
Okay.
She begins to grate on me, and I'm not as big of a fan. I still really enjoy John Boyega. I think his performance is good, but again, the most emotional crux for me is the moment that he and Rey finally meet up again and they hug each other. I'm like, okay, there's the emotional tether that I've been waiting for this entire fucking film.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I think it improves when we get down to the planet and we start moving forwards with that. And I mean, when it ends in line with episode 5. Really, it's the downbeat ending. It's how do we go on when it feels like we've been absolutely decimated and we've got nothing left? But as I say, one of the continual themes of the film is hope, and hope for the future, and we are the spark that ignites the fire that burns down the First Order, and that play of things. So, like I say, I find it quite in line with sort of where episode 5 left us. And again, obviously, we now know that episode 9 would have picked up threads from that, pushed on with that. The big resistance coming in at the end of episode 9, as we'll get to, obviously, that is in the original script, just not in that place and not in that zone. But certainly the resistance that they ask for in episode 8 and don't receive comes in the second one, because 8 did start the fire, but they don't know it yet. And that would have been really interesting to play out then, because then you would have picked up on themes and threads that Rian had introduced, and you would be pulling those through to a natural conclusion. So as it stands at the minute, they never get concluded satisfactorily.
Well, it's like
and I mean, fair enough, you could argue that he binned stuff that JJ set up.
Sure.
And just went, well, that isn't what I want to do with it. Because I totally believe that JJ, when he wrote Rey, was like, well, she's tied into the mythos. I think that he was going to write her if he would have carried on.
Yeah.
But again, reading his interviews, after he did the first one, he was done. He didn't, he sort of followed what was going on with the others, but he had nothing to do with them. Yeah. He was on to the next project, because he was asked to start it, so he didn't mind where the threads went and whether people changed what he was going to do with it. Didn't matter, because they were finishing it, not him.
The thing for me as well, they left episode 8, the last scene, and it caught me completely by surprise, because I didn't see it. Genuinely, I don't think I spotted it the first time around. I think it was when I read a review or something after, and it pointed it out, and it's like, oh yeah, the kid reaches out and the broomstick comes to his hand, and I was like, so what, we're supposed to go, the kid's Force sensitive now?
Yeah. And that's what he was trying to do.
And that was it. Never picked up ever again. Never picked up ever again.
That's what Rian wanted to do.
Yeah.
He wanted to introduce the idea that these, that there were other people out there, and you didn't have to be born into it to be able to be Force sensitive, to be able to help in this fight against the First Order and against the big baddie. So the year rolls around and we get to episode 9. So as we know, JJ was brought in. He had very little time. He had to do what he could, and what we got was episode 9. Now, let's be fair. What we get is it's the sequel to episode 7, and very much follows the same format.
Yes.
So it is essentially episode 6, Return of the Jedi, just different characters, different plot points, different beats.
Who'd have thought JJ would have rebooted another film of the Star Wars franchise?
I don't think. Yeah, well, yeah. I suppose he's rebooted episode 6. I see what you're saying. Yeah. But that's what I was expecting, because that's what his first one was. It was a retread of old ground, and I expected nothing less. I mean, in terms of it, there's the bit. I mean, I haven't. My notes here are written from seeing it at the cinema when I got back, so they're a bit disjointed. They're not as full as my other notes.
Sure.
Because obviously I've had the chance to rewatch those a few times, and I haven't with episode 9 yet. But I mean, JJ's made it nearly that you don't need to watch episode 8.
Yeah.
The only thing you don't know is Luke.
What happened to Luke?
What happened to Luke? Did we ever find him? What happened?
Yeah.
And Snoke's dead. That's about it. I don't really think there's much else that the film tells you that you can't pick up from opening dialogue to the film and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And again, I can't argue with him. What was he supposed to do? He came in, was not supposed to be involved in any way, shape or form, had a script that was carrying on things from episode 8 that he couldn't do anything with, so fuck it, I might as well just continue threads that I started in 7 then, and bring them to their natural conclusion. And like I say, the final battle, the Act 3, the final battle, is exactly Endor from the end of 6. You've got the space battle in the air, you've got the
individual.
Yes, you've got the
ground
individuals
space
facing
battle.
Oh yeah, okay, ground space battle, which would be the equivalent of the Endor ground battle with Han and everyone. And then you've got the main protagonists facing off with the main bad guy.
So you got the 3 threads.
Exactly.
Space, ground, and then Palpatine.
Exactly. Which is exactly the same as it was. But why not? What he's done is taken like he did with episode 7, he's taken things that worked and just revamped them for 2019 stroke 2015 when that one came out, and gives us some nostalgia. I fucking cheered. I mean, you may have heard because we were at the cinema together for it. I cheered when I saw Wedge in the shooting position in the Millennium Falcon. So
I'm sure you turned to your daughter because she was like, "Is that? And who's that?" And he was like, "Oh, Uncle Fluffy will confirm with me in a bit." And I love that because we were like both clearly on the same.
I knew it. I thought it was Wedge, but I wasn't sure. He does. It's the callback when both Rey and because Rey ends up going to the final planet. Oh, I can't remember its name now. Where Palpatine is, she ends up going in Luke's old X-wing that we see in episode 8. How that still runs, I won't worry about that. But fair enough. Fair enough. And Kylo arrives in an original TIE fighter from the wreck of the Death Star, and there's just a scene where they're parked next to each other, and I just loved that. That got to me because I was like, that's where it all started, and that's what I think he tried to do was just go fuck. The only thing I can try and do now is to wrap up as much as I can, is to hit as many beats as I can, and to try and bring things to a conclusion that seems to make sense. Does it? I don't know. I don't think it does. Really does.
No.
But I've got to be honest, I kind of liked 9 because it was more of the same. It was back to what I wanted from my main entry Star Wars. And hi, at me, I don't care. Maybe I'm a crap Star Wars fan because I just want more of the same shit from my episodes. I don't know. But I know that I like 7 and 9 far more than I like 8. I mean, yes, I've got more to say about 8 because it challenges things and it does interesting things that provoke a discussion about whether that's right or wrong. And JJ's don't. They're safe. I mean, particularly 9. My main issue with it is also the crux of it, and I like it. So it's a real weird contradiction. But I hate the way that in parts he just went out for fan service. Like, let's face it, Rose's role. I mean, and again, now that we know we've seen the script leak from episode 9, Rose was supposed to be an important part of that film as well and have a greatly expanded role. She gets 15 minutes of screen time?
Not even 15 minutes.
Not even that.
Not even 15. It's like 8 minutes.
Why did they do that? Why did they sideline her? Because of the fan backlash. Oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's the coward's.
No.
That's a coward's way out, I'm afraid.
And
that character could easily have been taken as part of the ground force with Finn fighting by his side.
Yep.
You essentially started a love story between these two characters. Wasn't a love story that I wanted, but that was where the threads you were going, and you basically just expunged that within 30 seconds when there was no chemistry, no interaction between the pair of them. She's staying back to help out Leia. Right, okay. So she's just going to do nothing because we know that Leia's dead. We know that Carrie Fisher's dead, and Leia's role is pretty limited in this. What a fucking waste of time. No offense to J.J. Abrams, but he completely fucked over that character and that whole situation. He could have been in support of that character. You know what? You guys are fucking bang out of line. I'm going to put her front and centre as she should be because she's a sub character, and guess what? Her role is now expanded. Not take away that entirety of the role.
I totally agree with you. If I was going to play devil's advocate for JJ there, I don't know that was JJ's choice. I don't know that JJ went, I'm going to appease the fans and cut her role so that there is less backlash. For all we know, like I say, all these machinations that we read about in the beginning phase, for all we know, that was Bob Iger. And he came back in and went, look, the fans have gone nuts over this. Fucking get her out.
If I can then start going through my critical list, because this is, I think, so if he's got the say-so to do these things within the films, he's got the say-so to increase her role within the film. So first of all, these super destroyers. Yeah. These super destroyers which have been built in the middle of fucking nowhere with what resources, with what crew, with what bunch of people have suddenly built this magical fleet. Not only is it a magical fleet, it beats the Death Star in firepower by a tenfold, so it can now blow up a planet. They've got thousands of these blow up planet ships. What the fuck?
Bigger, innit? Bigger.
What the fuck? So you've gone from Starkiller Base, which could destroy several planets all at once, to now we've got individual tiny ships, which are a fraction the size of the Death Star, but have more firepower. Bullshit. These constant deaths and revivals. Okay, we're gonna look. Okay, Chewie's dead. No, actually, Chewie's not dead. He's actually alive. Okay, this person's dead. Actually, no, they're not. They're dead. I think they're spawned them back alive.
I thought they were fake out deaths, to be honest.
But this is it. It happens 3 or 4 times within the film. You can't do the same thing 3 or 4 times. No, it becomes repetitive and it becomes ridiculous. This romance between Rey and Kylo, which, okay, you hinted that there was a connection between them in The Last Jedi, but you also established that there was a good deal of hatred between them, especially because he effectively turns on her at the end of Last Jedi, and now we're suddenly supposed to go, oh, they're in a loving thing, and oh, it's nice that he gives her a kiss and saves her life. Bullshit, don't buy it. Palpatine, seriously, Palpatine suddenly appears out of the ether, just comes out of the ether and just like, oh, I've been alive all along. What? Where is the chunk of story? We've gone 30, 40 years, where is the chunk of story explaining this? He's apparently had a kid. Well, he had a kid. Where the fuck is that story? This kid turns out to be Rose's parent. Really? Expand upon that. Don't give me the bullshit. Ray's parents, sorry. Don't give me the bullshit of chase scene after chase scene after chase scene after chase scene throughout the entirety of the galaxy and not give me any actual explanation as to where he's come from, when he had a child, where this connection has all come from. He's in this hall with hundreds of thousands of people crowded around him, loads of Sith loyalists. Where the fuck did they all just suddenly come from?
So, just to touch on that,
go on.
You're absolutely right, and I've got a deeper point there for the Palpatine thing. It doesn't work. The timeline doesn't work again. Right? So we guessed, sort of, in the early phase that we've passed between 20 and 40 years since episode 6.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, alright.
We know Rey was left when she was, I don't know, what, 10 maybe? Yeah. If you look at the age of the child when she's being pulled back by the lad.
Yeah, maybe 10. Yeah.
So we've passed, so Rey's what, 20, mid-20s, should we say?
Mid-20s, yeah.
Okay. So let's go back, Rey's mid-20s when we pick her up. Let's go back to Rey when she's born then.
Yeah.
So we're sort of 10 to 15 years post episode 6. Sure. 20 years maybe if I'm being really fair to them.
Sure.
So we're 20 years post thingy. So Palps has been dead for 20 years at that stage.
How's he had a kid?
He certainly ain't shagging anyone.
No.
And even if he was shagging someone the way he fucking was in episode 6, fuck off.
Seriously?
Like, unless she's the child of rape, I don't know how he knocked any fucker up.
Is it metachlorians?
Oh, not midichlorians. Fuck off. Oh, I suppose that's the one thing we can say that Rian Johnson did right. He didn't turn around and go, hey, everyone can have force powers because there's been a midichlorian shower.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. But yeah, it doesn't fucking work.
It does not work.
Now, again, playing devil's advocate, of course it doesn't fucking work. Because it wasn't planned from the start like this. JJ scrabbled around in the fucking dark, grabbed some pieces from his chessboard and went, right, well, if I put that there and that there and that there, yeah, go on, I think I can make that work. Yeah, no, yeah, go on.
No, it's as you said, when you're watching the film and you're suddenly being critical over this and you're overcritical of this and this and this, that's exactly what I was doing throughout this entire film. I was sat there going, okay, that can't be possible because of that, and that can't be possible because of that. All right, fine. You get to the end and there's a nice little fan service and okay, right, she takes on the name. Okay, cool, that's lovely. And you bury these things and okay, lovely. And you've got your nice new lightsaber and cool, looks badass. And yeah, you're taking that, you know, for those who don't know, who perhaps don't, that lightsaber is essentially the same colour as the Guardians, the Jedi Guardians.
Yeah.
And I love that, and I thought that was a nice little nod. But unfortunately, I'm not buying your lineage. Bullshit. I'm not buying this lovely little relationship. Bullshit. The fact that he dies in your arms and you seem really cut up about it. Bullshit. I'm just... his redemption arc is good. I like that. Suddenly we get a Force ghost of Han Solo. Sorry, when did non-Jedi people allow that to happen? Where the fuck did that come in?
I was discussing with my daughter last night and she reminded me that Han came up as a Force ghost and I was like, oh yeah, you're right actually.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah, how did that happen?
Because they just wanted her. Because I was saying to her, no, Han's not in episode 9. What are you talking about? She was like, yeah, he is. He's a Force ghost. I was like, oh crap. Oh crap, you're right.
Yeah, okay.
And no matter what you do in episode 8 with pushing open the doors to being able to get the Force, I still don't understand how Han comes back as a Force ghost.
No, absolutely implausible. All right, we hunt on the fact that, again, this is the thing that, Finn kind of... And it really pissed me off because it was a crux point of the film several times where Finn wants to say something to Rey but doesn't because there's other people around. He's like, I've got something to tell you. And it's like, okay, this is a big thing. It's like a really big thing. Yeah. And we never get a finality to it. And it's basically like, you come out of it, oh, well, essentially he was, going to say that he's beginning to feel the Force.
Yeah, but how do we know that? We only know that because JJ in an interview after the release of the film, when everyone was going... What the fuck was Finn going to say? Because you never told us. Yeah. JJ had to go, oh yeah, well he was going to say this. Yeah. It's like, well why isn't that in the film then, you fucking penis?
So going back to my point, he's making the script, he's making sure that X, Y and Z is happening. Guess what? You can give Rose a fucking bigger role. Yeah, absolutely. So JJ Abrams, that's on you.
Yeah, fair enough. I can't argue with that. Oh, it's funny. It's so bad. But isn't bad.
But I mean, I've only seen it once. I can only go based on one viewing. True. There are enjoyable moments in it.
And I came out buzzing,
you know.
I remember. Because I believe that was probably all the fan service in the last act. Because you even get the voices of the different Jedi in her head.
Yeah.
And that was, I loved that. That was so good. Yeah. But it's just fan service.
It is.
It's what you do when you're wrapping up the trilogy. You reference things that have come before, don't you?
Yeah,
to make everyone
the only
like
thing that I will say on that is that, again, this is somebody who's watched the animated stuff. I would now like them to do away with that nonsense. If they're going to do another Star Wars TV series, we've got
season 5 is next?
something like that. But as in, like, we've obviously got Mandalorian, which we may get around to discussing very shortly. But if they do another series, I want this to focus on Ahsoka Tano or Sabine Wren from Rebels. I think those two characters would be absolutely brilliant.
Oh, you've got a great idea there. Two female characters,
even together, because that's kind of how it ends with Rebels. Ahsoka Tano, her voice is in The Last Jedi, as are Rise of Skywalker, as are many other people. I've read that, Samuel L. Jackson and Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, they all came back to the studio, did a little part just for that. That's actually fan service.
That's cool.
And I love the fact that Ahsoka Tano was in there as well, as was Kanan Jarrus.
Apparently their ships were in the big ship battle bit.
You know, when all the resistance ships sort of swoop in, apparently like Ghost and whatever was in there.
I've only seen it once. I've only seen it once.
I think you said before that because I haven't seen it all, so it's not the Clone Wars one, it's the Rebels one. It must be,
Ghost,
mustn't it?
Yeah.
Ghost. So it must be Ghost in there.
Yeah. And Ghost does appear in Rogue One.
That flies in.
Yeah. Okay, I've only seen it once. So
exactly.
It'll
be interesting to watch again. I tell you what, the romance that I wanted that they didn't do.
Yes, and we all wanted.
It's that bit at the end where Finn and Poe run and hug each other.
Yeah.
Kiss.
Yeah.
Kiss.
Yeah.
It's like, of all the shit that you've had to put in here because things have gone this way or that way, the one thing that I think has been fairly consistent all the way through is a very bromancy relationship between Finn and Poe, particularly in the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, they shoehorned in that final sequence.
Yes.
They shoehorned in a lesbian kiss in the background, a female kiss, and I was like, no. You need to do it here. Here is where you've actually been laying the seeds for 3 films. Whether you realise it or not, you've consistently spread that they've worked people in and out of potentially, because at the beginning of episode 9, there's a bit of Rey Poe, sort of Han Leia friction. I was like, oh, so that's where you're going.
Yeah.
And then
I would have preferred that than
never comes to anything.
Than the shoehorned in Kylo, Rey.
Yeah,
no. Didn't buy it. Didn't buy it for a million years.
Like, I'd have accepted them as sort of a brother-sister connection or something. But
that I would have understood. But, I'm going to give you a kiss goodbye before you fall asleep and die in my arms. Bullshit. Not buying it. Sorry. Not buying it.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know why they didn't. Because, as we saw, they had to cut the lesbian kiss out for release in China. Yeah. So if they'd have done it between 2 main characters, they'd never have gotten the Chinese money from it. And that is where, as much as you say, yes, JJ is writing the script, is in control of this and is in control of that, is he? Or is Disney going, yeah, but we can't market it if you do that. Mm-hmm. And actually, no, you can't do that bit because then China won't have it. And no, you can't be pro that because then Russia aren't interested.
We've already talked about the South Park episodes discussing this very thing.
Exactly. So yeah, I think I haven't really got much more to say about 9 of you.
No, as I say, I mean, I've only seen it once. I suppose in hindsight, I've seen.
Maybe we should do
Force Awakens and Last Jedi. Bits of the Last Jedi because I can't get through that middle bit. I just can't. It's just too bad.
Maybe we should do a watch along or something for the podcast, and then people can.
Possibly.
Start the film at the same time as the podcast and listen to us comment through it when it's out on Blu-ray or something. Maybe that would be interesting to see whether we feel differently about it.
Sure.
Because
regardless always,
of how you feel about all this, like I say, my conclusion would be that I have realised that from my main episode Star Wars, what I wanted was more of the same. Mm-hmm. I wanted the JJ version, basically. I didn't want things to be subverted. I didn't want strange things to happen. I didn't touch on the bit where I think they protected it. So episode 9 introduces Force healing.
Yeah.
After the kick-off in episode 8 of the Force pull, do you remember The Mandalorian? There was one episode that was pushed prior to Rise of Skywalker's release. That episode was the episode where they introduced Force healing. Well, and I feel that they did that because no one complains about it on The Mandalorian.
Sure.
A new Force power being introduced. Sure. But they went mental when that happened in episode 8. So I genuinely think that Disney went, right, put this episode first, because that'll happen, then people will see the same thing happen in Rise of Skywalker, and if they start to kick off, the fans will go, oh, but it happened in this first, why aren't you ragging on this?
I mean, as I understand, the thing is, having played multiple Star Wars games and stuff like that, the ability to heal has always kind of been there, ingrained, I think, to some degree. But it hasn't been
enough,
within
but again, you're going into the wider canon that your average Joe doesn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, can you argue that Star Wars is made for the average Joe anymore? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think you can do that because average Joe won't have read that, and I didn't know. I've played some Star Wars games and stuff. I didn't know you could heal. I didn't know you could force heal.
Yeah, I'm sure it's part of the...
But I haven't played as many as you, admittedly. But I played the first Battlefront or whatever, and I've played a few Star Wars strat games over the years and things, and a little mobile game. But I'd never seen force healing. That was totally new to me. I didn't care because there was an interview with Rian Johnson I was reading for the research on this where people were the interviewer was questioning him about Leia's force powers and new force powers being introduced, And he said, well, why is everyone forgetting that we were introducing new Force powers in the original episodes? Because we'd never seen any of this.
Yeah.
So every power was a new power. And no one complained back then.
I suppose,
but because you've set it in stone,
yeah.
and you've built this reverence structure around it, where we have to treat this as almost a work of biblical proportions, you know, to almost deify it in the modern, which is not everyone's view, but is certainly the fandom of Star Wars at its core, the fanatical aspects of it, would treat it as such, would see it as almost a sacred text that should not be messed with.
Yeah, I mean, loads of people had, were in uproar when, Phantom Menace came out, and suddenly, lightsaber battles were fucking sword battles. They weren't.
They were cool.
Slow samurai style battle that you get between Obi-Wan and Vader.
Yeah.
In the first, they're not. They're okay. These are energetic people. These are young. These are virile people. They can bounce about and do crazy.
I think it
flips
went
and
nuts
stuff
with
like
Yoda,
this.
but I do love that sequence at the end of, is it Attack of the
Episode
Clones,
2, yeah.
where him and Dooku
Yeah.
but he's just like,
Yeah, and he's bouncing all around.
yeah, he's just a blur of green light flipping around.
But that's it. It's
Lynn.
like, okay, yeah, he's very crippled most of the time because he doesn't really use that much energy. When he does, he's gonna spend some energy. So yeah, I mean, I think the thing is we will always say in terms of any review that we do, it's subjective.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's what we particularly like. Whereas there are different opinions over everything, and that's where I think this toxic culture comes in. Yeah, we're opinionated on what we're talking about, but guess what? I'm not going to go on the internet and I'm not going to spew hate and horrible comments at people because of a performance they've done of a fictional character in a fictional story.
Yeah,
and that's what we have to remember in all instances of this stuff.
Absolutely. And I even think, bringing it down a level from that, I don't care whether you out there enjoyed the film or not. That's entirely up to you. But I would hope that you are able to sit down and have a reasoned discussion with someone with an opposing point of view. Because, you know what? Sometimes you don't see everything. And sometimes you aren't considering all sides of the thing you're looking at. Because you've got your own opinion, which leads you down a certain path. It always does. That's default. So you have to either have someone else to go, but did you look at that?
Yeah.
That kind of doesn't marry up with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then you go, shit, actually, you're right. But you have to be a big enough person to go with that.
Yeah.
And it's like what was it I heard the other week? Something about have ideas, because you can change ideas, but you can't change beliefs. No, but changing a belief is so much harder.
Yeah, and do you know where that came from?
No, go on.
That was the comment that I made that Chris Rock says in Dogma.
Thank you. There you go. That's fantastic. And that has stuck with me since that.
There you go.
Because I've never stopped thinking about that, and I apply it to so much stuff.
And it's
these days.
true. It's totally true.
Bang on. Absolutely bang on.
Yeah.
And I just wish there was more like it. It's a shame we didn't get the chance to do the... I want you to watch Beautiful Day in the Neighbourhood for next time we come back.
I will watch it. I think we've discussed so many, I think that would have been hard to
absolutely,
fit that into
that film, that one specifically, had a massive effect on me. And I think you are going to see some things in that film as well.
Cool. Wonderful.
Because of the scenarios between the characters.
Sure, wonderful.
And the positioning, and just... Tom Hanks is lovely. Anyway, that was a slight detour. But for next time, I do want you to have seen that, so we can discuss it.
I will happily.
But yeah, in summation, the problem is, I would love to throw away all the gumph about the situation around it and how things came about and the amount of time that JJ had and what he was left, the pieces he was left with to try and construct something. If I'm going to be fair, I think he did the best job that he possibly could have done. I don't know how I would have done it any different.
No.
Given the constraints he was under, given the fact that he had no thoughts for this franchise after his episode. He didn't know where it was going. He had no idea where he would have taken it. He was out.
It's expectations as well.
Exactly. And you would have thought they would have been lowered by episode 8 and how badly received that was.
Sure.
But I discovered that, I am a shit Star Wars fan who just wants more of the same really from my main episodes.
Okay.
I'm a bit crap when it comes to that, to be honest. I didn't want to be challenged by Rian Johnson and his stuff, and the problem is, even if I did want to be challenged by it, and let me say, I love Rian Johnson as a director. I think he's amazing. Hello, sir. I think you're brilliant. You're not listening. But I think you're incredible. Knives Out, yay. And like I say, I've been a fan since Brick. But I didn't want that. that isn't what I wanted from my Star Wars, and even if it was, I don't. The problem is the plot, the narrative flow of the film just is too slow and boring, really. There's not enough actually, even though you've got 3 separate storylines going in different places, one of them's really boring, the other one's totally stupid, and the other one's really disappointing because it's not the character that you wanted, not training the character that you do want.
However, I will say this. Now, we've obviously had, I mean, granted, not core Star Wars films in that sense. However, we've also had the, you know, side films. We've had Rogue One, which is fucking phenomenal. I went into that and loads of people were like, ooh, and came out of it. I was like, I fucking love Rogue One. Even to this day, I still love Rogue One. I think it's absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, Rogue One. If you sat me down and said, I've got every Star Wars film that's ever been made, main episode or side, what do you want to watch?
Yeah.
Rogue One.
Rogue One.
Every time. Love it.
But this is the thing. What I will say about The Last Jedi is it's not the worst Star Wars film. That is reserved for Solo.
Yes.
And I expected better from Ron
that.
Howard.
But again,
I'm not gonna. Yeah, all right.
Because the problem is you have to get into the machinations.
We have to do blah blah blah.
I think if you look at, don't get me wrong, I would never defend Solo. I think the heist sequence is really cool. That they do on the plane and everything, and I've seen VFX stuff on that. And actually, the explosion that happens from the special bomb was done in water. So the ball that appears was actually a model of the mountain in a fish tank, and then they put the explosive charge in, so it would make a circle coming out of it. I mean, it's clever shit, man. That's
I think
really
it was
cool.
massively miscast as well.
But I feel, you know, the bit where they're coming out of, like, there's a big shootout in front of a massive staged set and stuff, like, as they're coming out of a cave.
Yeah.
That's about halfway through the film, isn't it?
Yeah.
I would put money on the original draft of the script, and when Lord and Miller were on board, that was the finale. I think that was the end.
Okay.
And they added more in, because it seems after that point, the natural end point of the film. But then suddenly there's something we've missed, and now we've got to go off over here and do something else. And it never builds. It all seems like it's building to that bit. And then that bit happens, and then suddenly we start building again, and it just totally takes me out of it. I totally agree. I think Solo is the... Oh, I don't know, actually. I don't think I could watch Attack of the Clones again.
Genuinely, I could struggle through them.
It's the middle bit. It's the bit where we get to Naboo
and
we have the horrible...
they're dancing around the fields and all that nonsense.
Because they're not even real fields, because George Lucas is a fucking dickhead by that point.
Calm down.
He didn't even want to take them into a real field.
Calm down now. Come on, calm down. Before you start banging the table, calm down.
Yeah, calm.
Come.
Oh dear, yeah. Yeah, alright. It's either between Solo and Attack of the Clones for the worst one, I think you're right. But, yeah, if I was being fair... I think JJ did the best job he could. But I shouldn't have to have researched all the machinations and the bullshit that goes on in the background. You should have just... I mean, I don't know how you get around it, because if it is that Trevorrow left because he was like, fuck, I've poured 3 years into writing this script, and now I've got to tear it up and start again. Shit, man, I can't do that in the amount of time I've got left.
But again, going back to our just previous podcast of The Expanse, check it out, everybody. We talk about the fact that there are books, so there is a definitive explanation as to why this happens and why this is paid off. For me, fundamentally, the majority of the payoffs in this film are never set up. There is no payoff for a lot of the things happening in this film. That fundamentally, for me, is the crux of my issues.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I wonder whether, you know, we clearly would have got some payoffs if you go through the script. I mean, I didn't go through the entire of the leaked episode 9 script. I read write-ups of it, but
if JJ had done 7, 8, and 9. That flow may have been better, but we had a juxtaposition from 7 to 8 and then completely flip it again.
And I wonder whether that's where they went wrong. In the first place, was Disney going, we're going to give 3 different directors a blank page to do what they want? Because again, Rian Johnson was told when he started writing, everyone asked him, so were you know, did you have to start at point A and get to point B hitting X, Y, and Z in the middle? And he said, no. They just gave me a blank piece of paper and said, do what you want. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to give a director that level of creative freedom, then you, of course you're inviting those sort of problems where things don't get paid off and followed through and things. So maybe they should have just gone,
fuck it, let's just JJ come in, do it, do all of them, do the whole trilogy for us, because he probably would have done all right.
Well,
we'd have got more of the same, wouldn't we?
So here's the question for me to end on my bit on. We've seen JJ and we've seen him reboot Star Trek and we've seen him reboot Star Wars. What's the next reboot for JJ?
What's the next reboot for JJ? Okay. Well, I think Disney are probably going to keep an eye on him now. So I reckon what's the next Disney live action?
I can't even.
Because like Jon Favreau was doing really well in Marvel, so Disney went, excuse me, do you want to come and do Jungle Book and Lion King live action reboots? I mean, live action reboots. Fucking hell, I use the word in its loosest possible sense, particularly Lion King. There's no fucking live action in it whatsoever. It's just a CG reimagining of an already brilliant film. Ugh. Anyway, that's an episode for another day, the fucking live-action Disney show.
Sorry, that was just a throwaway.
No, I get what you're saying, absolutely. And yeah, they just should have done a better job, and I've got to be honest that, yes, I saying that, I couldn't tell you how. I don't really know how I would have done it. I don't know how I would have gotten out of the situation.
I think they're damned if they do, damned if they don't,
exactly.
in many respects.
And that's why,
if
if I'm going to be fair, I think Episode 9, he did the best job he could. Episode 7, he did what he wanted. Episode 8, Rian did what he wanted. And Episode 9, JJ tried his best to tie up everything he could in whatever ways he could. And he didn't get everything, and it didn't all make sense. But that is what it is.
At the same time, people coming out of... I mean, we all know at this moment in time, and it will always be the case, the original trilogy will always be the best trilogy. Whatever way, shape and form you look at it.
Yeah.
The one thing is that loads of people came out, and they may forget about it now, loads of people came out of Return of the Jedi and went, what the fuck were those little Muppets doing in there? Everybody hated the fucking Ewoks.
Yeah, everyone hated the Ewoks. Yeah.
No one remembers that
now.
That's it. It's like...
It is a little bit rose-tinted, isn't it?
It is.
And again, because the fandom is potentially younger, they don't have that reference point. They don't know what it was like. I tell you what, the only other positive I would say is... My daughter is 11, and I tried to start getting her into Star Wars about when she was sort of 8ish, because I thought we can start with the prequel stuff and move forwards. Obviously, I did skip bits of Revenge of the Sith, where it gets a bit dark and a bit graphic, because they are 12s and she was a bit young. So I kind of covered her eyes for some sequences just because I didn't want her to be scared. But she did not connect. Well, she connected with Chewie. She loves Chewie. She called him Joey when she was very young. She thought his name was Joey. She loves Chewie, and she connected with him. Human characters, Rey was the first one she got on board with. That was the first one that made her go, huh. And I think it's because it's a female. And it was a female, as you say, just surviving, doing the basic mundane shit, and not exciting in any way, and I think she that was what she latched onto. And then you've got BB-8, which, let's be fair, he's a fucking cute bastard, that thing. And the one thing I would say about JJ, and this goes back to episode 7, I didn't mention, thank you JJ, thank you for actually having sets.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Thank you, because that opening sequence looks so good, because that is a set. The base, the Rebel base, looks incredible because they actually down at Cardington, I think, in Bedford, where the Pinewood Studios are, where they shot it, and it's an ex-military base, which is where all the hangars are, the bunkers are, and they built full-size models of the Millennium Falcon, of multiple X-Wings, and they put them in a fucking, they did it so that it looked perfect. So that when you're shooting it, you haven't got to worry about, there's going to be a CG bullshit over there, and there's going to be a bit of CG bullshit over here, and you don't need that, because, look, there's a plastic model behind you that you're stepping down a ladder from. It looks brilliant. And I really love that he went with that, and he continued that forwards, I think, into 9. I mean, I think about the third act, and a lot of the third act is probably CG, actually. Like, if you think about the stuff on the ground battle on the ship is probably most of it.
Yeah, the whole stuff with Palpatine.
And all the Palpatine thing could be... So, alright, but at least in the first place, he did try and bring it back round to genuine sets again. But yeah, alright. Let's call it quits on that one then. I think we've said all we need to say, haven't we?
I think so.
We've tried to be as fair. Well, I've tried to be as fair as I can. I didn't want this to be a Star Wars bashing session. I've tried to pick out the positives where we have found them and we agree on them, and I've tried to put across the situation politically, if I can use that term, to describe the background and the backstage machinations, if you like, that were going on around it, to give some context to what we got.
It's not to say I wasn't entertained. I was.
Exactly.
I suppose.
I watched
this
7 and 8
is
again since to prepare for this.
Yeah.
7 I enjoyed pretty much every minute of, and 8 I struggled with for a lot. And like you say, it's that big middle section that just drags it all back, and it's bookended by a couple of good sequences, basically. But let's stop it at that point. I hope you think we've been fair. I hope we've covered the stuff that you wanted us to cover. As always, you can tell us what you think by going to the YouTube channel, which is bit.ly/bytebackyt, and leaving a comment, subscribe, like, all that sort of business. If you want to support us financially, you can go to bit.ly/byteback Patreon. And again, the byte is always a computer byte, not a food byte. And finally, if you want any of this information again and you want links and to be kept up to date with what we're doing, please go to facebook.com/thescreenmasters. That's facebook.com/thescreenmasters, where you can send us a message and do any of that sort of stuff. But for now, I have been Bav.
I have been Fluff.
And this has been Screenmasters.